Hello, this is Greg Galson, Green Greg's, coming to you on the 3rd of January 21. Time on deck is 17:45 hours Central Standard Time. And I'm about to bring you what may be the most important story of the year, because this story is going to be the foundation to several other things that's going to be going on this year. The foundation for a lot of predictions I'm going to make, and just a whole lot of things will filter out from this. So this is important to hear. This may be the most important video I make this year, maybe of all, because it's got a lot of things in it you need to be aware of. I'm about to connect a lot of dots, basically just, painting an entire constellation of how a lot of things are going on and how they connect to each other. Some things you would be surprised about. This video will be the foundation of, like I said, several other videos to come. And I'm going to show you several reasons why, for one, China's economy is just set to crash. Why it's got several fundamental flaws in it that are all coming to a head. Many of them really fast. Some of them may be down the road, but this could spur a very big economic crash globally. And it also may, I'm going to talk about why this may spark military conflict, major military conflict soon, like maybe even this spring. Possibly it could even lead to WWIII. And I'm not kidding, guys. We're looking at some dire situations. A lot of people just aren't adding it all up right now. And that's what I'm going to do. Some of the dots I'm going to connect. But I'm going to go even further. I'm going to connect and show you how all this even pertains to the World Economic Forum. Oh, yeah. Believe it or not. To the set that's not so great. To the set of re that's not so great. If you know what I mean. I'm talking in code, which sometimes you have to do around here. You follow the drift. But ladies and gentlemen, I bring you this as part of my Eyes Wide Open and Head on the Swivel series, so you can know what may be coming to you. And I'm going to do several other videos on this. I've got a video coming up on predictions for 2020. I've got a video, and that should be posted tomorrow. I'll be doing a video on, let's see, I'm going to have John Hollerman, who you really liked him, and I'm going to have General Krosnak together Wednesday, and I'm going to have David Payne on here Thursday. David Payne has been writing in the national interest and interviewed by Poland. He is the deputy director of the EMP Homeland Security Task Force. So he is going to be on here Thursday. And my friends, he is really expecting, unless we do something drastic, that we're going to be into it directly with Russia soon. So you need to hear these things. These things are important. They're critical. And I do a lot of videos and stuff like this. So be sure to subscribe to my channel, bang the update notification bell, and click all, and share them far and wide with your friends on your social media, because I got some important topics here and people need to hear them. I got important perspective on it because I'm in a couple of these national EMP committees, and I also chair 2 EMP power grid defense, that is, conferences. So guys, we're in for some serious times here. Now, all that said, oh, by the way, you got to consider when times get rough, especially if may have a war of nuclear proportions. You might have a nuclear winter. You might have that occur naturally, even if you have a volcanic event large enough, or a major asteroid strike, even grand solar minimum, or some things. There are different events that come along and make you unable to plant stuff for maybe a few years. Have the seeds and save them. Go to my links to Territorial market for that. But guys, sometimes you just need long-term food storage, especially in the city, especially if you're bugging out. You need to set up caches, and even your first year growing stuff, you may not have enough. So I highly encourage you to go to prepwithgreg.com, where you can get a special right now where you got a 3-month supply, $100 off, guys. $100 off a 3-month supply. There's 2,000 calories a day, and John Hollerman can tell you why that's significant, because most companies only give you like 800, and it gives you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so with that amount of calories, you'll be a winner, my friends. This is lightweight because it's freeze-dried, which makes it easy to store, to bug out with. Your kids can carry it, my friends. You just got to know how to filter and how to purify and sanitize water. 2 separate things, Dr. Dave Hodges. So go to my videos on that. I do show you how to do both in many different ways. So I got a video that covers that very thoroughly. All right, that said, prepwithgreg.com. And you can go into all other stuff there with the My Patriot Supply website from prepwithgreg.com. and it helps my channel if you go into their channel or website through me. So check that out, guys. Please help me out in that regard. Now I'm going to start some PowerPoint here. You know, us engineers, we love PowerPoint. I may even do a little video toward the end of this if this don't last too long. So here we go, my friends. I am going to launch a PowerPoint share screen. Ding, 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 ding. Now, what I'm not going to do is put this in presentation format, which makes it look a lot better. But I just tried that and experimentally, and it didn't work. I'm going to share it because it only showed what I'm showing here right now. When I was doing a share screen in a previous video, that didn't work either. And I don't know why. It must be something Zoom has changed or updated, because it used to work. But right now, I'm going to have to do it this way. So I'm just going to step you through these slides one by one. So bear with me. Why China may strike in 2022, something that is going to be dear to me and you to know and understand. So let's go on down here. Now, guys, y'all may not know it, but China, like I said, they're in trouble. They're in trouble from several forces acting to crush their economy. And but along the way to their great plans to take over the world, they've hit a speed bump, and that is the stuff happening. And it may lead to great conflict between us and them. But you know, it all starts right here in their cities, what they've been investing in, where they've been putting their energies. I'm going to try to maximize this as much as I can by minimizing me. Okay, this starts right here, guys. People that invest in cities and countries, you know, they want to look at the progress. They want to look at the success of a country before they put their money in. And one of the top things they look at is the skyline. If they see an immense, beautiful, burgeoning skyline, they tend to throw money into it. And it's a bad psychological thing. But even major investment companies are guilty of that, because, you know, it does leave them wide open to Ponzi schemes, which is exactly what they fell into here. And because China was born against the future, building a Ponzi scheme in real estate development. We're going to go all into that. And I would say that Evergrand is just the tip of the iceberg in this Ponzi scheme. And this Ponzi scheme bubble is busting. It is much bigger than our 2008 economic crisis. China has other problems, not just the real estate development, but the high-speed rail system in China. We're going to go into this too. Had a colossal investment, like 400 billion from the government of China, and then they turned it over to their private industry, who invested another $1 trillion, mostly from borrowing money. And guess what? This is hitting the wall too, my friends. This is hitting the wall, and is adding to the economic woes in China. Not only that, but there's also a population crisis in China right now, and that both the low birth rate and what that means is China's population is aging. They're going to have less people, and it's going to be an older workforce. And this is going to drive a lot of things, such as labor cost. There's going to be a lot more old people. Elderly people is going to have to be taken care of more and more. And the younger people is going to have to be more supportive of them. So it's going to create a lot of social burden in their system. A lot more of the labor will go to that. There'll be less available people for labor. China made their money in part off of cheap labor. We're going to go into that in a minute. And they're not going to have this available to them like they did, because with less labor, labor cost goes up, and labor cost in China is already going up. It's shooting up already. So China's already been kind of looking to Africa and other nations to make up for that. So China's in serious trouble for the things that have been the basis of their economy. Not only that, but energy costs are going up to China. As you know, they got into a row with Australia over Australia's interest in investigating where a certain bug came from, if you know what I mean. And for some reason, it just made China extremely indignant, and they just attacked Australia immensely, and they set up a trade war. And, you know, Australia dealt with it. And now, so China's more dependent on nations like Indonesia for imports. And Indonesia has just decided, hey, we need our coal this month of January. We're not going to export it. So it puts China in a bind in more ways than one. Not to mention that they're having floods, pandemics, all kind of stuff. And something you may not know is that China, got energy problems. They've actually been hoarding 50% of the world's grains, 50%, and more than that, I think like 50% in corn, maize, maybe a little higher. They have been hoarding grains, but they've only got 20% of the world's population. So why are they hoarding so much? What do they know? Do they know that the world's about to collapse? Do they know that their system is in grave trouble and they better buy it while people will still take their money? Get it while the getting's good. That's no philosophy money. Get it while the getting is good. Well, what you might know is that the CCP has built its economy on a Ponzi scheme in real estate growth, and foreign investors, foreign companies, and a lack of civil liberties, cheap labor, gross human rights violations. I mean, look, here is the Mongolians have been told they can't speak Mongolian in their own schools in Inner Mongolia. This is the Uyghurs, and just stuff like that. But here's your Tibetans. They are under oppression by China. So hey, often I've said this. I've said nobody deserves to own or possess another person or people. Everyone should have the right to self-determination. So I said, you're fascist, you're mine. That's evil. No, they do not have that right. It's a sick, twisted thought that lots of people, especially majority peoples, tend to think about other peoples within their country who really aren't part of them. If they don't want to be part of them, they should have the right of self-determination. That's a point I've often made. But what you got to know is this real estate crumbles and the population rapidly shrinks, ages. The CCP will lose all of its advantages. Some of these are unraveling now. Others will unravel more on time. The question is, how long is it really going to take for all this to crash? It's a big question. But Evergrand's starting to crash now. It's already starting to fall apart. China's been trying to hold this together with spit and tissue paper because I think they didn't really want it to crash now. They wanted to keep going just a little bit longer. But, well, unfortunately, it's already happening to them. So, like I said, investors look at these skylines. This is what they look at to determine whether they want to put money into a nation. And China looked really good in this area. It looked stable. It looked like a great investment place. And so the government and things with Evergrand, and they were able to pull off some amazing Ponzi schemes. It's even said that Evergrand, there's another article I haven't posted here today, Evergrand just pulled another Ponzi scheme off just like in the last few days, a Ponzi on top of the Ponzi. So, so Evergrand is the second largest real estate developer in China. But unfortunately, they got about $300 billion in debt that they can't pay. And they're involved in a lot of other industries and have leaders from around the world who've invested in this company, Evergrand. And they're just the tip of a large iceberg. The Chinese real estate bubble is something on the market. Actually, the whole market is something like, I think sold real estate is $52 trillion back in 2019. This is 2 times residential housing in the United States in the market here. And here, the United States prices are high. So, but it's also estimated to actually be like $62 trillion now, because there's something like 11 to 12 trillion dollars of unsold inventory, which is kind of strange because it says that they're really disorganized because they got unsold inventory. I bet that's uncompleted inventory, because they've got a lot of people buying apartments in China who can't, they bought them, they paid for them, but they're not available. We're going to go into that in a minute. So, yeah, 65 million homes is part of that $11 trillion surplus. About 20% of supply is unoccupied. So think about that. They got about 20%, 65 million homes unoccupied, my friends. So that's unconscionable. And how they're going to manage that is anybody's guess. So let's think about this. 2008, think about this by comparison. 2008, when we had our big crash in real estate, our real estate market was on the order of 25 to 30 trillion dollars. See, China is much larger, better than twice as large at 62 trillion dollars. And with that $11 trillion in inventory waiting for a buyer, that's huge. And when you think about this too, consider this. Real estate accounts for 29% of China's GDP. So one of the reasons that China has been growing and attracting investment is they've been claiming this great, wonderful, growing, continuously growing GDP. Well, they've been propping it up with spit and tissue paper every way they can in Ponzi schemes to help keep this racket happening, keep it growing. Oh yeah, they had cheap labor. That and the real estate was their two primary engines. But one of those engines is just flamed out, the real estate engine. And you know, if you're thinking jets, like a Tomcat had two engines in it, right? One flames out, you better be making it home on the second engine. But if it flames out too, you're going down, my friends. And with that second engine, you know, between real estate and cheap labor, the cheap labor side of it is sputtering. It's barely got a lot of life in it. But China's economy is set to have some real problems here. So by comparison, I said 29% of the Chinese GDP is based on real estate. In the United States, it's 6.5% by comparison, 6.5%. So it's a big, huge difference. So let's change charts here. So what we got is a lot of these buildings just aren't finished. But see, why it's a Ponzi scheme is that China actually took payments for like apartments. They took the payments, they took the people's order, but they didn't build their apartment yet. They used that money to pay for the ones that other people were already moving into. So that's why it's a Ponzi scheme to a large degree. A lot of the companies there are doing the same thing. Condos purchased are not being delivered. That's what's happening here, my friends. So we are in a tight here. We are in a tight. There's an let's go on down through here. But what does that mean? Think about this, my friends. I'm going to come back and talk some more about the realty side there, and we're going to come back to this and talk about it some more. Look at all these houses back here in the distance. But here's what you need to know. All these things hitting in China, China's got other ambitions, other assets. China has just invested a lot of money in their military, huge amount of money. They just produced 3 warships in a single day recently. They have a larger Navy than the United States in terms of the number of ships. The displacement may not be there yet, but they're catching up really fast. They've got a large selection of missiles, like these are anti-aircraft carrier, anti-Guam missiles, as they call them here, the DF-26. China is preparing themselves real hard for war. I mean, they have been building like crazy. Why are they building so much military systems? Why are they militarizing the islands on the 9-dash line in the South China Sea? Why are they practicing all these drills against Taiwan? What are they setting up to do? Why has this become such a priority to them? But it has, even more than their economy. I mean, hey, this is the DF-41 missile at the bottom. That's their intercontinental ballistic missile. That's the newest one, which can reach the United States. It can carry 10 to 12 MIRV, multiple reentry vehicle warheads. So they can deliver a lot with it. Plus, these are the missiles that they're going to be putting in the silos. They have mobile versions now, but they're building like 300 silos, my friends. Now, the reason that, here's the thing. When your economy crashes, you got a problem. This costs a lot of money to maintain all these systems. And what happened with the Soviet Union when they fell apart, when their economy crashed? Well, this is what happened. The Soviet Union had a bustling Navy, and suddenly they couldn't afford to maintain it. Stuff goes downhill really fast when you don't maintain it, my friends. And this are old Soviet submarines and ships, and a lot of this stuff just happened like that, my friends. It went downhill very fast. This is why we may be facing war, because they want to take Taiwan. They want Taiwan really bad, but they might have to use it while they got it. They might have to use them while they got them if they want to go for Taiwan. They claim they want to take it, and Taiwan seems to be slipping through their fingers. So if we can hold China off from that for the next year or 2 or 3 at least, then maybe the prospects of them doing it will be very low, because there will be less capability to do that as their economy tanks and they run into other problems and have other things to focus their interest on. So we're going to talk about the Great Opening shortly and what that means for all this economic development that they incurred and what the real plans were for that. But before we do that, we'll come back here and talk about China and these beautiful shining cities they got there and what came of all this. So bear in mind, there are enough empty houses in China to house the entire population of France and the United Kingdom combined. 93.6% of Chinese households are homeowners, compared to 65% in the US. See, that's what the real estate bubble really did. They built and even built ghost cities, entire cities that has nobody living in them, guys. Sometime, you know, you can only run that barn against the future like that with no customer for so long. Sooner or later, the cows are going to come home to roost. Cows, the chickens are going to come home to roost. I'm trying to combine old sayings here. So what happened though is yet many of the ordered apartments have yet to been built. They're not built, like I was saying earlier. They are vacant, just like this, vacant buildings. They started some of them out, they're just not finished them. A Chinese homeowner, they hold 70% of their wealth in real estate, the actual homeowner themselves. 70%, maybe 30% of the GDP, 29 to 30%. But for the personal homeowner, 70% of their personal wealth is in their real estate. And this market's about to collapse. And what that means is the value of the real estate they're holding is going to drop dramatically. Their personal wealth is going to plummet. And that's going to affect a lot of stuff they do. You know, industry typically requires money they're required to put their money into the buildings they're building, but that's not what they're doing in China. You know, you buy a building, your money goes into the building you bought, not to the building that the previous orders are made for. And that's why I say this is a Ponzi scheme, guys. Money used for the condos has been used to help pay for the projects that were previously sold, not the projects that are going into now, or people buying. So, you know, this is kind of like Bernie Madoff. I got a picture of him somewhere. Yeah, Bernie Madoff down here, guys. It's like Bernie Madoff, only way worse. And in the United States, you go to jail for stuff like that. But in China, not so much, guys. See, Evergrand, this is just posted. You know, Evergrand shares plummeted after they missed a payment. So look at this, guys. Evergrand crisis, 4 questions. You know, so you know, this just shows 20% of the homes are empty, like I just said. 1.6 million undelivered apartments. Yeah, 1.6 all right. What is 1.6 million. So there's a whole lot of things happening here. So given the vacancies in the housing market is the housing market is way overpriced, it was considered a good investment. Yeah, it was considered a good investment when all these towers are looking so pretty, guys. Yet in some cities, home prices per square meter are on par with the world's most expensive cities, even in China. And according to Moody's, 70 to 80% of the Chinese household assets, like I said, they're tied up in real estate, or mentioned that. They said 70 to 80 according to Moody's. That's more individual wealth tied into real estate than almost all other developed countries. You see what I'm saying? It's really inflated. In the West, the majority of investment goes in the capital markets, you know, which are not well developed in China. So maybe that's why they go into real estate. The real estate market expansion continued as home buyers and developers and investors believe that the government will not allow significant correction as it was too crucial to fail. You remember too big to fail? Yeah, but guess what? It's failing. It is falling. And that's what's happening, my friends, as we can see. And so there's going to be a whole lot of this right here. Many real estate developers other than Evergrand, and that is down. Yeah. I got an article to show you here somewhere. Wow. Many real estate developers other than Evergrand are struggling under the weight of the debt as their sector is heavily reliant on credit. Yeah, get that. These developers owe over $5 trillion, or 1/3 of their country's GDP, as debt equivalent. That's a debt equivalent to the GDP of Japan, the world's 3rd largest economy, just in this real estate Ponzi scheme here, guys. Just in this real estate Ponzi scheme. Look at these numbers, guys. There's that 20 billion indebted. There's your yeah, it's a mess here, guys. It is an awful mess. So just to paint you this picture, guys, it's not pretty in any shape, form, or fashion. The chickens are coming home to roost. Bonds worth 9.8 $92.3 billion issued by Chinese developers are due next year. So there's bonds, there's coupon payments, there's a lot of stuff that is failing that these companies just aren't delivering on. Evergrand has $30 billion in debt, which is equivalent to GDP of South Africa. GDP, now says the other debt was different, which I just pointed out, which is more like the GDP of Japan. So that's greater than the GDP of Finland. It's $300 billion, believe it or not. So South Africa, Finland, it has $19 billion in bonds on international capital markets. So what that says is this is going to affect the world. It's not just Evergrand. 19 billion in bonds on international capital markets. Plus, there's the internationals have invested in other using other capital means of investing, not just bonds, in Evergrand and these other companies. The property market is slow and fast. It's dropped 15.8% in September, the third month in a row up through September, and it's still dropping now. That's some of the latest statistics I saw. Some of the stuff's not absolutely up to date, my friend. So with China's top 100 property developer sales decline an average of 36% for the same period last year. So, oh yeah, by the way, in some cities that was 45%. So if you look at that, sales declining 36%, 45%. What's that mean? That means property is going to be overvalued. Property prices are going to drop. 60% of the Chinese companies have crossed several of the red lines set up by the country for managing those companies and their health, but they're crossing. This Ponzi scheme is running out. A $62 trillion industry is going into liquidation. 1 to 2% of that would cause a market to decrease substantially. Just 1 to 2%. Now, yeah, that's a huge industry, 62 trillion, guys. Now the buyers are waiting for that bottom to fall out. Yeah, so there are buyers out there, but they're waiting for the bottom to fall out. And this will drive the market down. The 11 trillion in unsold is 1/6 of the 62 trillion. This will cause the dominoes to fall, guys. The 60% of the developers in the $62 trillion industry, think about it, 60% of the developers in the $62 trillion industry are in trouble. 60% of the developers in a $62 trillion industry are in serious trouble. That is way beyond our 2008 problems, guys. So this is huge. It is downright scary. The collapse of China's economy will affect everyone, as China is a global market economy. China buys most of the U.S. agricultural product and from countries all over the world, from the U.S. and other countries. What happens is sales decrease. China is also a producer of our electronics. Almost all the clothes we wear are produced in China. And what do you do when the supply chain in China collapses? I mean, guys, it's set to fall off the cliff here in 2022. Made in China may be a thing of the past as their economy crashes and all these others. Yeah, don't fall off the cliff there. You hope they're hanging on, right? Companies, when people can't get think about the big companies, when they can't get their parts, what happens to them? When the big companies can't get the parts they need to run their business, they got to shutter their doors. I've been talking about this in the past. That's part of the problem with supply chain issues. Is there's a lot of big companies that require all, just ball bearings to run the rollers in the assembly line, chips. There's thousands of little components that are required to make everything work, like this little fine-tuned watch here. Well, that's how industry is too. And when you start missing things, if you can't find them from somewhere, you're in serious trouble. Now we know that China has been, also hoarding food. But what happens when they can't get it, man? I mean, what happens? I mean, we're talking some serious stuff. But hey, never fear. Blackrock is here. Oh my gosh, who's Blackrock? Some people are saying that China will nationalize their assets and hire an asset management company to manage them. for them for a fee. Well, guess what? BlackRock is already in China, and they're already buying up these bad assets. Guys, this is now the largest company in asset management in the world. And they got there by what? By buying bad junk bonds and the mortgages that went south back in 2008, which just so happened is something they set up in the first place. Oh, and that's suspicious. I can show you that, guys. I'm going to show you this. It's really suspicious what BlackRock's role is and how they are tied to the set of WWIII that's not so great, and our good friends at the World Economic Forum, who we love so much because they love us so much, right? Yeah, okay. You need to understand what I'm saying here, guys. Read between the lines. This will be bad for the world, worse for China, and worse yet for Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping is, yeah, he might get in some trouble over this. So we've been thrown into $1 trillion, or we've been throwing $1 trillion into our own economy. We can't handle another financial crisis. And we're going to get part of this because, like I said, we are so invested in this infrastructure here from American standpoint. So we can't really handle that infrastructure crashing. In the United States, you know, we have a plan for like $1 trillion right now to fix infrastructure. And bulk infrastructure in the United States has a lot of problems. Infrastructure spending can be one of the best investments the government can make, like a stimulus, but it puts money, you know, it does put money in the pockets, but unlike stimulus checks, it builds something that can provide value that lasts long after the stimulus checks are long forgotten. Therefore, it can add to the economy, you know, enabling commerce, transportation, making the whole country more efficient. Infrastructure spending is usually great, but in the U.S., infrastructure projects take a very long time. Well, not so in China. They take a short time, but sometimes they don't make decisions right, and they are fraught with problems because of some of that. Hey, in China, they built a hospital in like 10 days. Look, there's a lot of graft and corruption in the way some of this happens, guys. So we'll get back to that in a minute. Look, they built a hospital in 10 days in China. You know, it took San Francisco a year just to build a new bus route. China has big infrastructure problems, though. Their high-speed railway, we're coming back to that, was the jewel crown of their infrastructure spending. I mean, this is what they showed the world, how good we are. Look what we got here. Look how forward we are in China. Well, I tell you what, that looks like a model instead of an actual train, but I think it actually probably is an actual train. Boy, it's so whistle clean, you know, and you'll find a lot of that in some of their train stations, especially when they're making pictures. But the high-speed railway was their showcase to the world. But it can be a problem that would this could be a problem that would make Evergrand, at least as a company, pale. Not the entire real estate industry, but Evergrand pale, because they got over, you know, $1.5 trillion in the stuff, guys, right here. As young people move from the rural communities to the cities to provide labor, the industrial, some type of rail was needed. Something was needed to get them back and forth to their job sites, guys. So China, you know, they helped to avoid a recession in 2008. How they escaped that was they put about, you know, they put about 400 billion into the rail system, hiring about 100,000 people to build this system. But that was only the beginnings. Okay, it's far beyond that. The program was mired by corruption, though, guys. It was a very corrupt program from the very start, like any typical government program, especially one in China, where, you know, you got a one-party system. There's the checks and balances are less. And the government is so huge. Everything is government in China. So there's a lot more room for corruption and graft. But this is one of the biggest and most public projects ever. So the corruption was even bigger. And then they had a very public rail line crash that revealed how bad the mismanagement was in their Chinese railroad program. And so China looked to privatize the system. They looked to turn to privatization, and they turned the project over from government to government-owned private, so-called private companies. Yeah, they call them private companies, but they're still entirely government-owned. But these companies were free to raise money from state-owned banks publicly issued bonds, investments from foreign and local governments, especially borrowing something on the order of $1 trillion, my friends, $1 trillion to build this system up. By the time the Chinese rail started, it was in a building spree, and it was the most profitable lines that were already established, though. So these companies, they had to buy lines that weren't, once they took it over, they had to buy lines that weren't as profitable. The most profitable ones were the ones the government set up. But the new lines had to go to the smaller cities that would not provide the same ticket sales. And the government still purchasing these and pushing for these purchases for political reasons. So the regular, these companies basically they had to spread the profits around the more profitable lines, the less profitable lines. Quite frankly, regular rail would have been cheaper to build and operate with cheaper tickets, but would not have impressed the international community as well. Regular rail could have been better accommodated. It can be better for the not so wealthy people, the customers that don't have the ticket price for the bigger tickets. And it could have hauled cargo, so it could have hauled people and cargo on the same rail, and it was served heavy industry in China very well. Something China needs. China's an industrial country. They needed more rail for their industry. So initially, these losses, like I said, from the unprofitable routes, were covered by the good routes. Okay, so it worked for a little while. For a little while, they had something going on. But in 2015, interest payments exceeded operating profits. Interest payments were outpaced profits ever since. And so these companies have been sacked with ever-growing maintenance costs, price rigidity. They couldn't increase the ticket price, and then the bug hit, and demand tanked. Less people were traveling. Almost every line became unprofitable, almost all of them. Now China is looking at a state-owned railroad because they're looking at taking it all back with $850 billion still in debt that it can't repay. Ain't that funny? So corporations only buy short profit routes, leaving the Chinese government to use the taxpayer money to maintain the rest on a huge ongoing cost basis. They could close down railways. They could leave, hundreds of thousands worth of people without jobs. It would be devastating to one of the country's greatest symbols of economic success. So, how are they going to handle that? Bailout and renovation is, something that they may have to look at. But guys, these are a lot of the problems that China's having. Look at this with the railway, with the housing crash, energy crash, pandemic, and all this. But hey, like I said, never fear. Blackrock is here. Blackrock has come to save the day, like underdog, right? Well, maybe you need to know who Blackrock is. So let's look at Blackrock, guys. Blackrock, an American multinational investment corporation based in New York City, founded in 1988. Originally a risk management and fixed income institution. Now it says Blackrock is the world's largest asset manager. What did I say about asset managers? Yeah. Did I say that China might just, turn this stuff over to an asset management company? You go, oh no, China wouldn't do that, not the American company. Oh, they're already in progress, guys. They've got $9.5 trillion in assets under management as of October 21. Wow. $9.5 trillion in assets under management. BlackRock operates globally with 70 offices in 30 countries and clients in 100 countries. Wow. But here is the scary part. Here is the scary part. You might have seen my video with Doug Thompson a few months ago, a month or two ago. BlackRock has sought to position itself as the industry leader in environmental, social, and corporate governance. ESG. Well, the corporate leader, they practically set this up. This is practically their invention. And this plays into what? The World Economic Forum. This company has faced criticism for climate change inaction, even though they are pushing it within the companies that they manage in their portfolio now. So they don't tell you all of that in this article here. And who founded Blackrock? Well, Mr. Larry Fink, Robert Capito, and Susan Wagner. We're going to go back to Larry Fink quite a bit here. Where Fink and his team were pioneers in the mortgage-backed securities in the United States. Remember that? Mortgage-backed securities? Oh, that's what caused the 2008 economic crash. And so what do? They started this, and yet they turned around and used the federal government come to their company to buy up all these mortgage-backed securities, and they had huge assets that they gained from this. Wow, what a scam these guys have pulled. It sounds like. What the world? During Fink's tenure, he lost some money at first. Okay, well, big deal, but look what all he gained. So let's check this out, guys. The U.S. government contracted with Blackrock to help resolve the fallout of the financial meltdown in 2008. See, guys, I kid you not. There it is. And this is all out of Wikipedia. Wikipedia, my friends. This is all out of Wikipedia right here. This is all public, non-disputed, out there for everybody to read. I'm not making this stuff up. This is out there for you to read in any source. BlackRock introduced 2 new exchange trades ETFs that include the stocks. Oh, you see what they're doing here, guys? They're pushing companies for social purposes now, because it just so happens that they own a huge interest in all kind of companies like Coca-Cola. Yeah, that's why Coca-Cola went woke. And a lot of other companies, including energy companies, oil companies, are going woke that shouldn't, suddenly they're against the very things they're producing. So that they are really changing the economics of corporate structure, like an oil company who is anti-carbon. Imagine that, my friends. That's the kind of stuff they're doing. Coca-Cola, all these woke big corporations, they're towing the line here because they got heavy investment from this company that's got $9.5 trillion in assets. So this company is having a lot of influence in the world and topics to include things that go against our freedoms. Why? Because it fits other agenda, it seems. But all things woke. What are they turning into? Now, this is a little bit more about Larry Fink. See, he's the chairman of BlackRock. He started this company, guys. And what's it say here, too? He sits on the boards of the influential, get this, guys. He sits on the boards of the, I can't highlight it here for some reason. He sits on the boards of the influential Council on Foreign Relations. Who's ever heard of that? No, you have not heard of that, have you? And what? The World Economic Forum. Nah, can't be. But this comes out of Wikipedia. Oh, but what's this got to do with China? What's this got to do with China? Everybody's asking. Well, BlackRock became the first foreign-owned company allowed by the Chinese government to operate wholly owned businesses in China's mutual fund industry. So what this says is they can have businesses that they own wholly. They're not even Chinese corporations inside of China's mutual fund industry. Wow. China like just bent over to BlackRock. Why did they do that? Why? And would they use them as an asset management company for all these assets going crash? Don't doubt it. So this is more on our good little friend Larry Fink, as this time listed in what? World Economic Forum. Yeah, this is on their website. See, worldeconomicforum.org. Agenda authors Larry Fink. See there, my friends. I kid you not, he's part of it. And what did the World Economic Forum bring us? This came off the World Economic Forum's website. All the thing, there's next few charts, everything on them was a video and some other charts that was on their website. I think they have removed all this because it got a lot of criticism from what this stuff said. And you'll see, you might figure out why that was. I don't know. You might get an idea from why they get all that criticism. What do you think? Welcome to 2030. Oh, that's only 8 years from now. I own nothing. I have no privacy, and life has never been better. See this guy smiling? Oh my gosh. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. whatever you want, you'll rent. And it'll be delivered by drone. Does that include my underwear, my socks? Apparently so. They say you own nothing. The U.S. won't be the world's leading superpower. So it's like the #2 thing. It's just so important that the United States won't be the world's leading superpower. Why? Well, okay. Who else is involved in this? Oh, wow. Who's speaking there? Who's this guy? Well, he looks a whole lot like Xi Jinping. Can't be. And who started the World Economic Forum? Lord Vader. I mean, excuse me. Klaus Klaus Schwab. Look at his uniform here. I mean, look at this, guys. Don't he look like maybe Darth Vader or no, maybe the Emperor? Darth Vader's boss. He looks more like the Emperor, or maybe he's Emperor Ming. Yeah, I think maybe that's it. He's Emperor Ming from Flash Gordon. But read this down here, guys. Economist Ernst Wolf, this is just according to economist Ernst Wolf, believes that there's some agenda of political and corporate leaders that's exploiting the bug with the aim of crashing the national economies and inducing a global digital currency. Nah, can't be. Now, you know, what does he say? What was he saying in some older videos that he put out himself? If you go to the World Economic Forum, they're still there. He was indeed talking about, well, now that the bug's out, we need to take advantages to take care of a lot of our environmental problems because of global warming. No, not warming. Warming. I'm into global warming. Excuse me. So think about that. But who does digital currency? Could China's digital currency unseat the dollar? You see what? What do they like about China's digital currency? Because it's not like Bitcoin. It's not a free currency. It's a currency that China controls the back door to. Hey, you get the money, it goes in your bank account, but it's got a string on it. If your social credit score falls below a certain amount, they just pop it back out. See, the world's elite, like David Rockefeller, he loved China. David Rockefeller said China was the example of how the world ought to operate, how we ought to govern our people. Why? Because they govern strictly, I guess. The world's elite just aren't comfortable with people having freedoms, apparently. At least some of them are. You know, maybe Elon Musk is. But a lot of people up there, especially from the old bankster community, they're obsessed with control for some strange reason, or seem to be from indications. What do you think? You think they are? You tell me. That's just been a suggestion, and I'm not saying that this guy here is right or not, Mr. Ernst Wolf, but you know, it does rhyme with what this guy's saying. I mean, with what Klaus Schwab has said. So, wow. Is this where we want to go? This is a big brother system if I ever saw one, and it's there. It's in China today. Now, of course, China is so lovely the way they treat their people, right? Yeah. So, yeah, now due to its debt problems and cash shortages, China's having problems paying its workers, guys. Yeah, we're going to get into that in another video. We're going to talk about how the Chinese system is got some issues financially. I'm going to do another video on that and about Xi Jinping's vulnerabilities. I'm not going to cover that today. I originally was going to make it part of this one, but I got to cut this video short. It's getting too much stuff in here. So, I found one of my notes pick up. Yeah, I'm going to cover all that in the future, but we're going to go through a few more charts here. So this is what China does. This is the Uyghurs, open air prison, guys. You know, but hey, given all this management, you know, why should they want war? I mean, hey, you know, they've got everything. They got it controlled, it seems. Well, it seems that also in the world of the realm in which some of these guys play, they compete with each other. So who's going to be in the very top at the end? Even within their own country, there's competition. So within these systems of countries, like these guys set up, there's still competition for who's going to be the head guy. Guess he is. I don't know. He's definitely he's going to be an influential guy in that. But then this guy figures to be too, or at least that's what he's hoping. But you know, sometimes these get to be conflicts. Sometimes they get to be worse as they abuse people. So some people have talked about this. Now, there supposedly was this letter written by Albert Pike to Giuseppe Mazzini, 15th of August, 1871, according to a book written by a priest in Chile, of all places. He wrote this book in 1921, and he made these accusations here, but nobody has found this letter. He said it was in a museum in Britain. Of course, after writing a book on it, if it was there, maybe it got disappeared. I don't know, guys. But this is highly suspicious. And he wrote that after the First World War, but before the Second World War. But if you read this, this does kind of rhyme with where we're headed. Now, I'm not saying this is true, this is the case, but here's what you need to know. That according to this line of thought, which is a line of thought. Oh, yeah, by the way, Albert Pike was a Confederate general born in Massachusetts. Isn't that interesting? A Yankee Confederate general. Happened to be a 33-degree Mason, head of the Scottish Rite. And he took that over from Mazzini, Giuseppe Mazzini. The M in Mafia is said to be from Mazzini. It was like Mazzini's guys. Mazzini, Giuseppe Mazzini, unified. He played a big role in the unification of Italy. He was one of the primary motivators, pushers behind the unification of Italy. And something he was wanting to unify the world. Well, I don't know, guys. I'm not saying this stuff's true. You tell me what you think, because I can't say that in this platform. I'm just saying these are some ideas that some people have put out there. So, but what's scary is this whole idea for the Third World War was it was something that was going to wear us out, something that was going to knock us down. Meanwhile, other nations, once divided on the issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, and spiritual and economic exhaustion. We will unleash the nihilist, the atheist, and we will provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all of its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism. So he's against atheism. Origin of savagery and the most bloody turmoil. Well, this is like a World War III. I don't know, guys. I don't know. So, did he actually use these words? Well, maybe after the first, back in 1875. In 1871. Did he actually use these words at that point? That's kind of suspicious, guys. I got to call some suspicion on this. But as you can see, this claims that they're trying to set up a Luciferian religion. So I don't know. You be the judge. You be the judge, my friends. Is that where we're going? Is China wanting to use their assets while they got them? Will they go to take Taiwan? Will Russia move on Ukraine? Are all these part of the plans? So is war part of the plan? Could it get out of hand? Yeah, it can. Because these are all devised by man. And different men wanted to be the one on top of the hill when it's all said and done. So they don't all agree with how that's going to be run. China war fears are up. Beijing says it will take drastic measures as Biden tensions boil. Biden tensions. So, yeah, what's happening here, guys? And why is Biden, who apparently had so much interest in China with investments over there, maintaining Trump's position and pushing it even further than probably Trump would have against China? Well, it's probably because his leftist policies made him so unpopular. He's hoping for some lift in the polls. I don't know. Here's what you need to know, guys. There are more people living inside this circle than outside of it. So when you take the book of Revelations into account, then it might just possibly make some of this make sense. I'll put on some glasses here. I'm going to read from the book of Revelations directly, my friends. So turn to the book of Revelations. Turn to Revelations 9, verse 14. Say unto the sixth angel, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which were bound in the river Euphrates. Now some people like Hal Lindsey define that as nations, the four angels in this case, because they're not really angelic angels. You remember, fallen angels are angels too. They're fallen angels. So but these angels do seem to have a very demonic property, seemingly, but lots open to interpretation here. But anyway, and the four angels were loosed. in verse 16, which were prepared for an hour, a day, a month, and a year to slay a third part of men. Of course, now they're talking over here, but it didn't say it all occurred here. It'd be easy to take care of a third part of men over here, since over half the world's people live inside that circle. So, and the number of the army of horsemen were 200,000. I heard the number of them. That's 200 million. There's only 2 nations on earth that can put a force out that size. And one's right here and the other is right here, both inside of this big circle, according to the CIA World Fact Book. And it says, and thus I saw the horses in the vision. It said horses, but listen what these horses sound like. I heard the horses in the vision, and them that sat upon them having breastplates of fire and of I can't even say the name of this mineral, JACINITH, and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire, smoke, and brimstone. Could this be a tank? Could that be a tank, guys? And by these were a third part of men killed, and by the fire and smoke and brimstone, which were issued out of their mouths. So, you know, just and the power of their mouths is, and in their tails, and their tails were like serpents, and they had heads, and with them they do hurt. They do hurt. All right, guys. So what is that, guys? What is that? I mean, if you take a guy that lived 2,000 years ago and you showed him tanks and jet aircrafts and helicopters and drones, how would he describe them? Well, they're moving, so they're obviously some kind of beast. You know, what kind of beast is it? You know, he's lost for words. So maybe he calls them horses. I don't know. If you were a person 2,000 years ago, and if you saw what's happening today, and I'm saying if, I don't know. Some people say that all this occurred 2,000 years ago by 70 AD. But this 200 million man army is kind of hard to fit in the context of the world of 70 AD, because we're only 150 million people on Earth. Okay, guys, only 150 million people on Earth. But this is what China wants to take first and foremost. This is the thing they want. I say China. Both of these are actually Chinese. Taiwan is the Republic of China, and this is the People's Republic of China. They're both Chinas. But Taiwan is really beginning to distance themselves. They don't even want to call themselves China anymore. And here is some of the bases set up in mainland China that could go for hitting Taipei. And it shows the distance of them to Taipei, the capital of Taiwan. And look, guys, our simulations show that we lose fast in war games to China. We are not doing well in these war games. We lose them fast. So this is something to be concerned about, something to really worry about. China warns U.S. will pay unbearable price for backing Taiwan. And guys, this is the foreign minister of China, Mr. Wang Yi. Mr. Wang Yi, guys. You see this guy's picture a lot. He makes a lot of pronouncements. He says a lot of stuff that's very negative to us and about us and Australia, our allies. He is very forthright with spewing fire. But now Taiwan may not be so easy to take, my friends, because when a defending force that's well fortified is mighty hard to take over. It takes a much bigger, superior force to do it. So this could cost China dearly. But that's not the only thing China wants. China wants Ladakh, this area here in northern India. They want this area so they can move across their stuff into Pakistan and into Afghanistan, places like that, into Iran. Why? There's Silk Road. Is there Silk Road an invasion road? I mean, that's one way to remove 200 million troops, guys, is right through here. It might be one route that they would take, and that's somewhat clear. I mean, they got to get across the Himalayas. It's a tough route over there, so they got to find ways through if they want to go and hit the oil fields in Saudi Arabia or whatever else it is they want to hit in that area when the Euphrates River dries up, supposedly. So, guys, what's going on here? And who would the four demons be? There's also 4 frogs mentioned in Revelations. Is it China? Is it Iran, Pakistan, Who's the other one? Is it Afghanistan? Who would be the other one if there's 4? If that's the correct interpretation, I don't know, guys. You tell me. Is that correct? I don't know, guys. But see here, China's also into it with Japan over the Senkaku Islands. These islands, and there's war planning going on over these islands right here. So there's 3 fronts that China's actively pushing: Taiwan, India, and Senkaku Islands. Or they might use Pakistan as a proxy to make that happen there. So and by the way, these are the missile fields for ICBMs, those DF-40 missiles I showed you earlier that China's emplacing, guys. And they got enough silos for 300 of them, which could give them 3,000 to 4,000 warheads they could toss at us. And some of us are saying, well, they only got a couple of hundred warheads. Yeah, right. Watch my videos with Dr. Peter Vince Price. And this is the range of the Chinese missiles. Interestingly, I don't see the DF-41 on this chart. So the DF-41 is going to be at least as big as this DF-5, probably even bigger. Well, what's interesting, though, about the only place on Earth that's not in this range of these missiles is Central America, a little bit of Central America, maybe Panama, and South America, to include Venezuela. We'll talk about Venezuela here in a minute. Because why? Some of us are thinking that they got the prospect of sending mobile launchers to Venezuela. Why? Because they're friendly with Venezuela. And you can go off the coast of Venezuela and do stuff, and even the Venezuelans wouldn't know about, because they got no real control down here. This is like total chaos land. And Russia, North Korea, and China and Iran all operate here in Iran. Actually ships missiles to Venezuela, and we think so does Russia and China. What else is going there? See, China just put out this video about this space launcher they could do. But when they show a space launcher launching tactically from boxes off trains and ships, they actually show that, because they got other ideas. That's not a space launcher. Space launcher launches from a launch complex. I covered that in a previous video. This is the ship video of it. Greg, it's incredible. Nobody would do that. Well, here's here's North Korea even. They had these missile launchers here packed in also shipping containers under bags of sugar to try to hide them while they was steaming around in the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea in 2013. They caught this in July 2013, guys. So North Korea has always been toying with this idea with their ship, the Chongcheng Gang, that was caught. And that's what Israel did. And you might know, I've actually built rockets and launched them from balloons off the decks of ships in the Gulf of Mexico myself 20 years ago. That's what I was doing, guys. Myself. That's what I was doing 20 years ago. Except my rockets launched from a balloon from 20 miles high. That balloon could also be the carrier of devices to cause an EMP. So what I worry about with this, I worry about somebody going down to Venezuela and launching an EMP attack on America, because you wouldn't know who did it, where it came from, and who do you blame, who do you attack. And we could be neutralized, especially if they use the EMP super weapons that put out 200 volts per meter on our lines, which could exceed it does exceed our old hardening spec of 50,000 volts per meter. So will our military be able to contact our forces of field to order them to launch strategic weapons even? Because those guys are required to receive an emergency activation message before they do anything, authorization message, excuse me, EAM, before they do anything. They can't launch without it. So are we crippled and blinded all at once? Are we taken out of the picture? All it takes is an EMP to take America down? I don't know, guys, but it's frightening and possible. It will happen for our population. If they hit us, we are within a year, 9 out of 10 people, according to the EMP Congressional Task Force, will be gone in the course of a year from societal collapse, starvation, disease, and things like that. And I have submitted to them that it's worse than that, because they weren't accounting for the fact that most farmers are on going market foods and won't be able to produce. And also, just the nuclear power plants that can go into, not only the plants that are going to melt down. I'm more worried about the storage, fuel storage pools outside the containment building. They got so much material in them, guys. So we could be in a real pickle. And by the way, not only do we have to worry about this stuff, here's that DF-41, which wasn't put in that chart, guys. This is their newest missile here, the DF-41. And then again, they're also developing these hypersonic missiles. They've already flown one that was in orbit around the Earth, and it actually launched another hypersonic missile from it. So really, wow, they're getting pretty interesting over there, and we can't get any of our hypersonics to fly. Yeah, and that's a shame. So And there's also in their military doctrine written by some of their military leadership over there talks of biowarfare. China wouldn't do that. Now, would they? Or have they? What's going on, guys? And they got other problems. Water is getting scarce. So it's like China is racked with problems. And what does it mean for this guy, his future? I'm going to that in a video in the next day or two. But what he wants to set himself up for is to own the world, to run it. But people in China, they don't all want that. It's not the people's fault. I tell you that in every country on earth, there's good people. There's good and bad people anywhere. But there's good people who will give you the shirt off their backs in every country, of every race, color, creed, and religion. Don't ever forget that, guys. Now, a lot of these people have been, in China, they only got one media source, and that's the government. And the government drones on them constantly, hypnotically, the same stuff over and over and over and over and over. So, some of them are, some people there may be deluded by all that stuff, just like people here. Well, look, the power of a person who'd stand up against the system. Hey, it wasn't just that tank, those 4 tanks. Look, he had a whole column of tanks stopped. See that? You don't often see this picture. And all these tanks back here in the parking lot. You see what the power of one person can be? So there is hope for the future. But China's got this population crisis. They've got less people coming at them. They've got an aging population. And old people are beautiful. They need to be taken care of, right? But China may want to move before all these catastrophes hit them. They may want to put a quick move on so this man can maintain his power. I've told you before, that's what a dictator is most interested in, is his own power. Not his own people, but his own power. If you don't believe it, just look. But hey, you know what? China could be a great place. China could have come back and build beautiful shining cities again. And it could live in harmony with nature and humanity around the world. That's what I hope for. But the way things are going right now, it's looking more like a war between the United States and China, between the United States and Russia even. I'll talk more about that too really soon. Hey, but let's don't forget Tank Man, okay, guys? They're trying to erase this stuff from history. Remember too, hey, only you can stop communism. The CCP. We need all hands on deck to make it work though, guys. So work with me. I do stuff. Let me end this presentation here. Hello, I am going to do a quick little video play here. Hang on, guys. Let's play a video real fast. Yeah. Another share. Just to show you the seriousness of what they have, what they can do. I want you to see this, guys.
我们已经习惯拿刀。
王局，专利动员大会现在开始。
一声道是一句承诺。
Now, this is by a wholly owned Chinese corporation, guys, media corporation. So this is government video of government forces for government propaganda.
一声道是一种割舍。
Spacesuits. See, their space program is run by their military. That's why we didn't let them into our International Space Station project. And this, China has a whole branch of the service that is rocket forces. Just like our Army, Navy, Marines, they got their rocket forces. They did that before we came up with our Space Force, by the way.
一声道是一次重复。
海上、空中、陆上各作战军以兄弟团战作战精神。
一声道心潮冲锋。用生命扛起使命，我们用忠诚铸起长城，改革强军征途如虹。
历史告诉我们，改革创新与时俱进，是人民军队不断发展的康庄大道。人民军队的力量来自改革创新， 人民军队的胜利来自改革开放。
众国召唤，我必到。收到。收到。
Yeah, there you go, guys. See, that's what we don't want to face. We don't want to face these guys.
Academy. They are the youngest team in the parade with an average age of 18. The new generation of sailors is helping to build a powerful naval force.
That was over 10 years ago, this particular march here. I'm not going to show you more of this video today. I will show some more of this video in the future. Maybe come back to it, but this video has already gone very long. I just want you to understand this. We're facing a huge threat in the world today, domestically, internationally. This affects many things. This affects our global supply chain. This affects global economics. This affects global peace in terms of war, strife, and perhaps even the set of which is not so great, that might come to us from the World Economic Forum or whoever would be pushing this. These things may all occur separately, together, but they are all intertwined. They're all interconnected, and you can find the dots that connects this constellation through things like Blackrock. And oh yeah, remember Blackrock? Let's see, they set up the security, the mortgage-backed securities, and yet they're the guys that got to go in and mop up the catastrophe and made a killing doing it. They set the trap, they caught the game, and now they're out in a bigger game yet. It's not funny, guys. This is serious stuff. This is why you need to prep. We've got a lot of threats coming at us, guys, a lot of threats. I'm going to do a video on predictions for 2022, things that you need to know for me and you. And you're going to see in there other reasons you need to prep. But you really need to prep. This stuff can happen. This could happen this year. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to say that China's economy is absolutely going to collapse this year. It took the Soviet Union quite a while to collapse. Some say that their collapse really started in the 50s. But when you look at Evergrand, all these things, I don't see how it's going to last long, guys. I think this is coming fast. I think China wanted to keep this going. China really wanted to get at least in the mid-20s before they would go on Taiwan, because they had a few more things they wanted to put together. They ain't got it done yet. So this might bode in our favor. It might be what keeps them from actually taking action. It might be what keeps them from actually moving in. And it's still possible, even though Xi Jinping has done everything he can to consolidate his power. Jiang Zemin and others in China might be thinking otherwise. Well, we're going to cover that in the next day or two, too. Those guys might be thinking otherwise, and they might just decide that we can't go this route. I don't know, guys, but Jiang Zemin and quite a few others that are up in the Politburo, the most powerful group in the CCP, and it looks like the CCP had made decisions sometime back that they would have this grand opening and opening up, which would open their economy and let it grow to the point that they could build up their country and build up their military. And the plans were all along to shut it back down again. But that shutting down is making a lot of people a lot unhappy. Of course, China's had a history of making the people unhappy. Just look at the Cultural Revolution, the Great Leap Forward before that. They made they starved tens of millions of people in their own country there. They made their people very unhappy. But at that time, those people didn't know anything else, just like the people in North Korea today. Can they turn China into another North Korea, just consolidating everything in the military? Or is China going to resist that? You know, it all goes back to the power of the people. There's more of us than there are of them. Even in China, with a huge CCP and all their social credit systems and all their checks and balances, and the fact that China has more people in the state security to watch their own people than they have in their military, that says a lot. Who they worried about? As much as they worry about us, they worry about their own people even more. Yeah, well, you know what that means? Power is in the people. If the people wake up, decide they don't want that yoke on their neck, they can throw it off. They can do that anywhere. It just takes enough of them waking up to that fact and making it happen. So there's hope. China might turn around, but it may take too long. Xi Jinping wants to keep power. He may make a move really soon on Taiwan. It will be a gamble if he does that. He may take that gamble because otherwise that might mean he loses his power. I said many times, the one thing a dictator wants most is maintain their power above and beyond all other things. So just keep that in mind. The world is at grave risk right now with both Russia and China. We'll go more into the Russia risk come Thursday night when I talk with David Pine. You better catch that interview. We'll be talking about our power grid with the General Ken Krosniak and John Hollerman Wednesday night. Guys, I got some awesome interviews coming. I mean, just knock your socks off interviews. So stay tuned, guys. Remember, subscribe to my channel, bang that notification bell, and click on. And hope to see you back here. But finally, in my final word, what I like to say often is remember, it's light dispels darkness, love dispels hate. That's what we need in this world today, is more love. So go out and shine your love light into the world. And maybe that and prayers, maybe these things won't come to pass. But just be ready, get prepared, because we are in a dire hour right now. With that, I'm going to say thank you very much, and Greg out.